So in terms of discussing Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and their school, how should we approach it? There's a lot of material. We've only got another about 40 odd minutes to go through it. So what I did was I just took two main points of defense that they say that people lie about them. I just want to discuss those 2 points. So Shaykh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab said people lie about me on two central points. Let's go through those points and then it'll give you a good idea, inshallah, and then we can just finish off with some modern fatwas. Okay. So in one of his works, he said people say X, Y, Z about me. I believe there's a scholar, Sheikh Sulaiman bin Suhaim al-Hanbali, or Sulaiman bin Suhaim, or Sulaiman bin Sahim, it might be Suhaim. He wrote a letter to other people outside Najd and told them that this person, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, this is what he says. So he wrote a response back. He said, he listed a set of points. He said, my answer to all of these matters, all these points that have been said about me, my answer to all of these matters is, sublime are you, O Lord, this is a mighty slander. It's a slander against me. I do not say these things. What are those things that they said that are attributed to him? And that I say that people had not been upon the deen, meaning Islam, since 600 years. So that was the accusation that he refuted. He said, I didn't say that. Okay, now one thing to note is that I don't know whether the letter of Sheikh Sulaiman bin Suhaim al-Hanbali exists. We don't know what he said. Muhammad Abdul Wahhab is responding to, so he's phrasing what Sulaiman bin Suhaim supposedly said, you see. He's phrasing it. So that 600 years, did Sulaiman bin Suhaim say 600 years? That's something to keep in mind. But anyway, generally speaking, Sulaiman bin Suhaim said that he made takfir of people, whole societies, okay? And obviously Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab is denying it here. Anyway, what does he say? Near extinction of Tawhid, the Durr as-Saniyah is a work which was compiled, and it's quite useful for us because it took lots of different works of the Wahabi scholars and put them together in one place for us. Okay, and it's, I believe, more than 12 volumes now. So what does he say in there? Remember, accusation is that he says people are not being upon Islam. 600 years does Sulaiman bin Suhaim say that, but generally, okay, what does he say? I will inform you regarding myself. By Allah, other than whom there is no God, I've sought knowledge, and I at that time did not know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, nor did I know the meaning of Islam before this good which Allah blessed me with. Similar to this is the case of my teachers. My teachers didn't know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, nor Islam. There was not amongst them a single who knew this, the meaning of La ilaha illallah in Islam. Whoever from the scholars of Arid refers to an area within Najd, I believe. Whoever from the scholars of Arid claims that he knows the meaning of La ilaha illallah or knows the meaning of Islam before now, or claims that there were from amongst his teachers anyone who knew this, then he has most certainly lied, made a fraudulent claim, deceived people, and praised himself with a quality which he does not possess. So they're liars, anybody who says they knew the meaning of La ilaha illallah before this time, meaning Islam. Is that takfir? It sounds like takfir to me. Interestingly, a Saudi historian, Dr. Uthaymeen, not the famous Sheikh Uthaymeen, another one from his family, I assume, in his work he challenges this assertion. He says, based on the historical records that we have, yes, there were some people who were uneducated, maybe they had practices. I believe he said the Bedouins had some un-Islamic practices. To say that the whole area was mired in shirk and kufr is an exaggeration. So within some Saudi historians themselves challenge this narrative that people don't know about Islam. And remember, he went to Iraq, he went to Mecca and Medina to study. He's not just based in Najd, he went around and he's saying, and my teachers. He also studied in Medina Munawwara with an Indian scholar, Muhammad Hayat Sindhi. Some people tried to make out that he was a Salafi scholar. He wasn't. He was Hanafi, but he followed evidence. He wasn't a rigid Hanafi. He was a Sufi. And we know he's a Sufi. Why? Because he wrote books on Tasawwuf, a commentary on the Hikam of Ata'illah, and he wrote a commentary on the poems of Imam al-Haddad, the Ba'alawi scholar. So he was definitely a Sufi, and he also Ashari in Aqidah because his works exist. So even one of his main teachers that they mentioned was not a Salafi. Okay, but this also kind of mentions his teachers, includes his teachers in that. Also, moving on, takfir of 3 generations, question mark. This is also in the Durr al-Saniyah. MIAW, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, that's an abbreviation, in a letter to Abdullah bin Isa says, you and your teachers and their teachers, that's 3 generations there, you and your teachers and their teachers have not understood it, Tawheed, and do not differentiate between the religion of Muhammad والسلام, and the religion of Amr bin Luhay. Amr bin Luhay was the first person, it said, who introduced idol worship into the Arabs. Okay, do not differentiate between the religion of Muhammad والسلام, and the religion of Amr bin Luhay, which he invented for the Arabs. Rather, the religion of Amr is the correct religion, according to them. Meaning, he's talking to Abdullah bin Isa, that your scholars regard this idol worship as to be the correct religion. You, your teachers, and their teachers. That's 3 generations. Takfir of the people of Najd. So some people may argue that they might try to do some spin on those statements and say, well, it's not clear takfir. It sounds pretty harsh to me, but what does Sheikh Sulaiman bin Sahman say? Remember this, he's already come up, that book where he wrote the Wahabi Gift, so that the King Abdul Aziz published. So he's not just anybody. King Abdul Aziz published his book. Sulaiman bin Sahman said, we have answered this question in detail obviously and explained that the people of Najd before the da'wah of the Shaykh Ibn Abdul Wahhab were upon disbelief, and we explained that all of the rural, meaning the Bedouins, and urban folk, people lived in towns, entered Islam due to this da'wah. That's pretty straightforward, to be honest. And this is Minhaj al-Haq wal Ittiba, and I bought this book at Regent Park Mosque. So they were selling it there. It's all available online as well. So it's really available. So that first accusation sounds that has some basis, to be honest. Takfir of the scholars of the Arab world. This is also Durr. Ibn Abdul Wahhab says, Allah has blessed you with the confession of the scholars of the Mushrikeen. Who are the scholars of the Mushrikeen in the Arab world? He's in Najd, he's sitting in Najd. Who are the scholars of the Mushrikeen? He's not talking about somebody in India or Tibet. Arab scholars, yeah? Allah has blessed you with the confession of the scholars of the Mushrikeen to all of this. You have heard them confess regarding that which was practiced in the Haramain. That which was practiced in the Haramain, Basra, Iraq, and Yemen was shirk with Allah. They confessed that this religion that they support, which they claim is the mainstream, Sawad al-Azam, they confessed that their religion is shirk. I don't think they would have confessed to that, but that's what he's claiming. Actually, some of them did confess, but I think they did it at the point of a sword, and that example is coming up later on. Likewise, they have confessed to you that the Tawheed which they strive to extinguish by means of fighting its adherents and praising them is in fact the religion of Allah. Okay, so once again, takfir of Arab scholars, that's what it sounds like. And remember, it talks about here, Haramain, Basra, Iraq, Yemen, Shir. That's a wide area of our world. Takfir of a person who is diplomatic with their enemies due to fear. So remember, they may talk about people, make a takfir of people who they say practice shirk, inverted commas. This is takfir of a person who doesn't practice shirk, but just is diplomatic. Now, what you will find is, when I was going through these quotes and double checking them, they will deny, we don't make takfir of somebody who doesn't do shirk, who just stays by themselves. But they make a general statement of denial, but then they undo their denial. And that's what you have to be very careful with. They will make a general statement and then undo the denial later on. Sometimes a paragraph later, or 2 paragraphs later, or a few pages later. Sulaiman bin Abdullah, grandson of Ibn Abdul Wahhab. Now, so for example, sometimes they say, well, you need to bring a statement from Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab himself. But the thing is, people can hold positions, they may state them verbally, they may not put them down into writing. But we know from his sons, his grandsons, the scholars around them, inheritors of the da'wah itself, if they say something and they're regarded as being mainstream Wahhabi scholars, then obviously it carries weight. So this, his son, a grandson is saying this, and the Salafi scholars believe that his grandson was upon the correct manhaj. So he's upon the manhaj of his grandfather. Therefore, he speaks on behalf of his grandfather, basically. You can't, just because it's not in writing, you can't just then deny it. What does Sulaiman bin Abdullah say? A person who manifests agreement with the mushriks upon their religion, out of fear from them and out of diplomacy with them, and mudahana, to avoid harm from them. Mudahana, got to look it up actually. Mudahana, I think, look it up, to avoid harm from them, then he's a kafir like them, even if he dislikes and despises their religion and loves Islam and the Muslims. Okay, so this is person, the last couple of lines, he's a kafir like them, even if he dislikes and despises their religion and loves Islam and the Muslims. This person loves Islam and the Muslims, their definition of Islam. Okay, engaging in violence on the basis that they are mushrik, meaning the Muslims, they label as mushrik. So some of them, Salafi scholars may state that we only fight people because they attacked us. It was only self-defense. What they can't explain then is how they ended up in Mecca and Medina. Because they were in Najd, so how did they end up in Mecca and Medina? How did they end up in Karbala attacking Iraq? That's all recorded. So obviously it's not self-defense. They went on the offensive as well. And they themselves talk about why did they physically end up picking up arms and fighting people. Sons of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab state, as for those whom our call to the Tawhid of Allah and fulfilling the obligations of Allah has reached, then this person and this person refuses to enter into it, and this person refuses to enter into it and maintains themselves upon shirk with Allah and leaves the obligatory matters of Islam, this is a person whom we make takfir of and fight. Okay, so this is not talking about self-defense here. It says this person refuses to enter into Islam, their definition of Islam, and leave shirk. We fight them. That's justified to fight them. And this will be stated again and again. And this is also, again, takfir of whole countries and justifying violence, durar as-saniyah. So this is not, this is when the Wahabi forces took over Mecca in the early 1800s. What did they do? They went to the scholars of Mecca and made them sign a statement. What was the statement? This is the statement. We, the scholars of Mecca, bear witness by placing our signatures and seals upon this document that this religion, strange wording they use, that this religion, which has been promoted by Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, Allah most high have mercy on him, and which has been called to by the Imam of the Muslims, Sa'd bin Abdul Aziz, relating to the Tawhid of Allah and the negation of shirk, which he has mentioned in this book, is the truth regarding which there is no doubt. Likewise, that which took place previously in Mecca, Medina, Egypt, Sham, and other lands up to this time, I assume that would include the Indian subcontinent, from the types of shirk mentioned in this epistle are disbelief, kufr, which makes lawful the shedding of such person's blood and appropriation of personal property. So there, you can fight them and kill them, and you can take their property. Mecca, Medina, Egypt, Sham, and other lands. Okay. Likewise, it necessitates those who practice the shirk entering the hellfire for eternity. He who does not enter into this religion, meaning the one promoted by Ibn Abdul Wahhab, nor act upon it, nor provide support to his people, nor show enmity against his opponents, according to us, is a disbeliever, kafir, in Allah and the last day. So showing enmity to it makes you a kafir, according to the scholars who signed this document. It is obligatory wajib upon the Imam of the Muslims, along with the Muslims themselves, to fight and kill such a person until he repents to Allah from that which he is upon, and then proceeds to practice this religion. Very, very extreme statement. Probably one of the worst passages in the Durar as-Saniyah collection. And we know the scholars were forced to write this. Why? Because if you look at the list of names, you have the Hanafi Mufti of Mecca, who previously were opponents of them, as far as I know. You also have one scholar from the Jamal al-Layl family, which is a Ba'alawi Sufi family. So you have a Ba'alawi Sufi family then signing a document saying, yes, everything they were pointing to was correct, and it's okay to kill people. Remember, this document justifies killing people, innocent people. on the basis that they practice shirk. Okay, nothing about explaining to them they were ignorant, they have an excuse, because that's also one of the reasons they come up with. This also undoes that, and it's coming up later on. So this is a very high level of extremism in their books. And the scholars, Salafi scholars who's critical of Wahhabism, brought this up, Sheikh Hatim al-Oni, and in response they had nothing to say. They had nothing to say this. It's there, black and white. Moving on, he's saying that I invalidate the books of the four schools of thought. So this was a claim made against him. Sulaiman bin Sahim al-Hamli claims about the former that was meant he did not accept, meaning Ibn Abdul Wahhab did not accept matters of permitted disagreement. That's what some scholars said Sheikh Sulaiman bin Sahim meant. So in subsequent lectures you'll see examples of that where they don't accept disagreement. Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab said in Durar, the Hanbalis are the least of the people in innovation, according to him, although Hanbalis did refute him. The majority of what is recorded in Al-Iqna and Al-Muntaha contradicts the madhab of Imam Ahmad and his statements. What that means is Al-Iqna and Al-Muntaha are two books of Hanbali fiqh used for fatwa. So he is saying that the main books of fatwa in the Hanbali school go against the madhab of Imam Ahmad. And anyone, that's like saying that the most of what is in Al-Hidayah goes against Imam Abu Hanifa's madhab. It'd be laughed at. What are you saying? So that's probably perhaps where this accusation against him came from, that he's actually against the madhabs. There were a couple of different reasons why. That I claim independent ijtihad and that I have departed from taqleed of the schools and that I say that differing of the scholars in jurisprudence is a punishment. That was a claim mentioned against him. If you look in his books, what does he say? Denial of ijtihad was false as he made his denial of ijtihad was false as he made new rulings according to his opponents. The scholars of the Sunni madhab, they said he came up with new rulings. Does he think he's a mujtahid? That's where this accusation comes from. And as you'll see, our Sunni scholars do argue that he said things which were incorrect and made rulings up. That's our ulama's argument. And also his denial about the difference being mercy as a concept. He does deny difference of opinion and mercy as a concept. He explains it in his own way. He has his own way of explaining it. Difference of opinions and mercy, inverted commas, is a saying. It's not really a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, but it's a saying that Sunni scholars mention. He does say that it's not a mercy, but he has his own understanding of it. So that accusation against him does have some basis, although he can explain it in a different way. He does actually say that. So Shaykh Sulaiman bin Sahim once again did accurately depict him in his letter, an accusation against him. Moving on. And then I make takfir of those who make tawassul through the righteous. This accusation will be shown to be true in the upcoming lectures, because Sunni scholars define tawassul as asking the Prophet ﷺ to make dua for you, although they try to define it a different way. But generally speaking, tawassul is a general term. It's a very, very general term, and they do make takfir of those people. Although when they use the word tawassul, they mean something slightly different, which we'll discuss inshallah in subsequent lectures. So generally speaking, yes, he did make takfir of those people. So Sheikh Sulaiman bin Sahim was correct. And I make takfir of al-Busiri due to his saying, O most noble of the creation, Ya Akram al-Khalq. Remember, he says it's a slander against him to say that he made takfir of al-Busiri. If you look in the books, what do they say? Abdullah ibn Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab said, the author of the Burda and those like him in whose word shirk and extremism are found and have passed away and not ruled to be disbelievers. What is obligatory is to repudiate their words and to explain that whoever believes these words in the outward sense is a disbeliever and polytheist. So Imam Busiri is not a disbeliever, but anybody who believes everything of the Burda in the outward sense is a disbeliever and a polytheist, idol worshipper, mushrik. As for the person who originally said them, meaning Imam Busiri, he's talking about Imam Busiri again now, his affair lies with Allah, glorious and most high. It is far from desirable to accuse the dead because one does not know if they repented or not. To me, that sounds like takfir basically. I can't make takfir because I don't know if they tawbah or not. Okay, so they basically prove the accusations against them in their own words. That is not really a denial of takfir. It's basically saying takfir if he did not make tawbah. It's not very generous, and it's quite you can see, so Shaykh Sulaiman bin Sahim was correct in that assertion. And you could just look and commentaries of Kitab al-Tawhid by modern Salafi scholars, they mention Burda often, saying that it has extreme shirk in it. So once again, another accusation against him proven to have some kind of basis. And that, I say, if I was able to destroy the dome of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I would destroy it. This is a very ugly position that Salafi scholars hold. I don't know why they try to deny it, because I couldn't find anything explicit from Ibn Abdul Wahhab, but they can't really deny it. Why? Why can't they deny it? Because their scholars today say it, or who have recently passed away say it. Such as Shaykh bin Baz said, he passed away, I think, late 90s or early 2000s, maybe late 90s, I think. As for this dome, it was constructed by some of the later ignorant rulers. If it was to be removed, there is nothing wrong in doing so. Rather, this is the correct thing. However, some of the ignorant folk will be unable to endure this and may accuse those who remove it of not being upon the truth and that they hate the Prophet. So there you go, they hate themselves. And you go into their forums. When I was researching this, you have people on forums saying, why is the Saudi government taking so long? Why didn't they just go and demolish the dome? Okay, so something that he denied against himself is proven by their scholars themselves. So just a really disturbing thing why somebody wants to destroy the Green Dome. This is really very, very disturbing. Whereas we know that at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was buried in his blessed chambers, it had a roof. It already had a roof, and the dome is just another type of roof. So they have absolutely no basis for their statement. The unfortunate thing is some people actually think it's a valid position, which is really shocking and disturbing. They had a roof at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. When he was buried, the companions were all there, they had no problem with it. And the dome is just another type of roof. Alhamdulillah, it's beloved to many, many people. Okay, it's a symbol of the Prophet ﷺ, and only somebody who has a real disturbing aqidah would want to go and demolish it. But it's just this weird literalism that they have there. They have to go and do these kind of things. But they're basically saying that we're holding off because we can't. It's going to cause too much of an uproar. But if we had the chance, we would do it. So another accusation proven to have some basis. Okay, although I can't find it from his exact words or his son's, grandson's words, but it's in their movement. Okay, so we just need to be careful with that. And then it says, carrying on, it's because the Saudi state has left this dome as it is because it was not made by them. Okay. And that I prohibit visiting the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. The Salafi school prohibits traveling with the sole intention of visiting the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. So this is once again a bit of spin. What Shaykh Sulaiman bin Sahim was I believe saying was that he prohibits setting out with the intention, I want to visit the grave of the Prophet ﷺ. I make it as one of my intentions. And you set out for that journey. They say it's haram to make that intention. You have to make the intention of visiting the masjid, and then when you visit the masjid, you can visit the blessed grave of the Prophet ﷺ. And we'll discuss this issue anyway in subsequent weeks, inshaAllah ta'ala. But once again, Shaykh Sulaiman was correct in his assertion. I think what's happened here is, in defending himself, he's changed the defense slightly. He's changed the accusation. But that's what Shaykh Sulaiman bin Sahim meant, and what he meant was they do prohibit that. This is one of their points that they make. Moving on quickly, that I make takfir of I believe 2 Sufis. He denied making takfir, but whereas if it is going to their works, up to this day they make takfir of those 2 individuals. Hussein and Abdullah, sons of Ibn al-Wahhab, mentioned that Ibn al-Farid committed clear kufr, disbelief. Ibn al-Arabi was kafir, and whoever doubted his belief was also a kafir, quoting an outlying view of a Shafi scholar. What happened with Ibn Arabi is it's a complicated, detailed issue to discuss, but people fabricate. That's why some scholars of the past passed a fatwa of disbelief, but other scholars, Sunni scholars, said no, that's not true. Imam Suyuti, Imam Sha'rani has a very detailed discussion on this. And Imam Sha'rani said, in my own lifetime, Imam Sha'rani in Egypt, he said, in my own lifetime, people have taken books of mine. Remember, it wasn't printed books back then, it was written, copied by hand. taken books of mine and added things in there, in my own books, from what I remember, he said. So he said, Sheikh Al-Akbar ibn Arabi is a Muslim, he's one of the great awliya, we honor him, respect him, but he had people who manipulated his works or tampered with his works. That's why you might find some scholars here and there who might have passed up based on that incorrect information. Anyway, Ibn Abdul Wahhab denied making takfir, then it is in their movement, they do make takfir. His sons mention it, that Ibn Arabi was kafir, and if you don't make takfir of him, you're also a kafir. So that, once again, Sheikh Sulaiman bin Sahim proven to be correct. Then that I burned the book Dalail al-Khairat and Rawd al-Rayyahin, and that I labeled it as Rawd al-Shayateen. Okay, once again denying that. What does he say? The son of Ibn Abdul Wahhab said, we do not order the destroying of any written work except that which places people in shirk, such as Rawd al-Rayyahin. I tried to look up this quote, I couldn't find it because maybe different editions, I couldn't find the exact quote, but I couldn't find that quote in their books, but I need more time obviously to look for it. But I said, okay, let me just Google Rawd al-Rayyahin in Salafi books and see what comes. And lo and behold, Abdul Aziz al-Sadhan says, and I believe he's a contemporary, alive now, he says, a Saudi scholar, in a commentary of Ibn Abdul Wahhab's book, he says, as for the book Rawd al-Rayyahin, the people of Tawhid call it Rawd al-Shayateen. So a scholar now just affirming what their leader supposedly denied. So you see there are scholars now themselves denying, actually affirming that accusation, sorry. Okay. Dalail al-Khairat, did he burn the Dalail al-Khairat? I believe there's a passage at Sheikh An-Nablusi from Jordan, he mentions that his son affirmed that he did burn the Dalail al-Khairat, or his grandson affirmed he burned the Dalail al-Khairat. What does he say himself? He says, as for the Dalail al-Khairat, as for that which is said regarding me that I burned it, then there was a reason for it. He makes a denial, it's a slander. Then he said there was a reason for its burning, which is that I indicated to a person who accepted my advice from the brothers that there be nothing in his heart greater than the book of Allah, and that he not think that reading from it Dalail is superior to reading the Quran. As for burning it and forbidding salat upon the Prophet ﷺ, and then he went in, then attributing it to me is false and a lie. So his son or grandson affirms the burning, and then here he himself is talking about the incident that the burning took place. So he is basically contradicting himself. As one scholar said, he's in one statement contradicting himself in one statement. Said he didn't say it about burning, but then he affirms that burning incident took place based on his advice. So Sheikh Sulaiman bin Sahim once again was correct in his assertion.